Well, the weather might be getting colder, Jeff, but it's nice here by Easton Beach.
It is. I think mid-fall still suits Newport, Rhode Island.
Newport Harbor is just to our west. There's plenty of boats out on the water today. Not too many people walking on the sand, though. I think a lot of us forget how great the beach and ocean are, even when it's not summer.
I agree. It's great for a picnic, a stroll, or legend hunting. So please do keep your eyes peeled on the water today, Ray.
Okay, what are we looking for? A shark? A storm? A boat?
We're looking for an old boat. We've come to Newport in search of a ghost ship called Seabird. Hello, I'm Jeff Belanger.
And I'm Ray Auger. Welcome to episode 269 of the New England Legends podcast. Thanks for joining us on our mission to chronicle every legend in New England, one story at a time.
And we can't do it without you. We're a community of legend seekers who are always on the lookout for ghosts and monsters and aliens, odd history, roadside oddities, and everything else that makes New England like no other place. Most of our story leads come from you. If you know a great local legend, don't assume we've heard it. Please reach out to us anytime on our website or get involved in the super secret New England Legends Facebook group. It's where thousands of people are sharing weird stories.
The New England Legends Facebook group may be the worst kept secret around.
That's a good point.
Now, before we go searching for the ghost ship in Newport, we want to take just a minute to tell you about our sponsor, Newport Herbals.
Ray, the fall weather has me warming up with tea again.
I'm with you, Jeff. I used to spend a fortune on those giant overpriced and oversugared coffees at the drive-thru. Now I keep some Newport Herbals teas on hand at the radio station. I'll sip a little lemon sun and add a bit of honey to sweeten it up. It keeps me warm and soothes my throat when I need to talk all morning.
Lately, I've been making Newport Herbals root berry tea during the mid-afternoon when I start to hit that lull. It's a sweet treat. I love that it tastes great, just enough like root beer and just enough like tea.
Newport Herbals has so many great flavors. You could try something different each day of the week. There's peach nilla, blueberry cinnamon, strawberry moon, chocolate chai, honey and spice, and it's still too early to mention their Christmas tea, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Plus, with the cold and flu season arriving, be sure to have a jar of healer tea on hand from Newport Herbals. It'll keep you healthy and breathing clear as the weather turns cold.
Let Newport Herbals help support your healthy lifestyle. Check out the Newport Herbals website to see all of their great products, and you get 20% off your order when you use the promo code LEGENDS20 at checkout. Visit NewportHerbals.com. That's N-U-W-A-T-I, herbals with an S.com.
All right, Jeff, so we're here on Easton Beach searching for a ghost ship?
We are, and though we're a few hundred years too late on this one, but this was ground zero for an event that launched a legend, one of the greatest maritime mysteries in the history of Newport.
So I know from some of our previous adventures that there's two kinds of ghost ships. Way back in episode 43, we explored the ghost ship of New Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, right. That's the story of a ship that sailed from New Haven but was never seen again until a specter of that ship in the clouds sailed above the harbor in front of dozens of witnesses before it just kind of dissipated.
Right. Then there's the other kind of ghost ship. Back in episode 88, we searched for the Mary Celeste, which once sailed out of Marion, Massachusetts.
Right. Now, the Mary Celeste was found drifting in the Atlantic, but she was still seaworthy in every sense. But the entire crew was missing and never seen again.
That kind of ghost ship freaks me out more than any cloud formation.
No, I get it. And then you're going to be glad you brought an extra set of pantaloons, Ray, because the Seabird is similar to the Mary Celeste, only stranger. So let's head back to the autumn of 1750 and explore this seaside mystery.
It's October of 1750 here by the busy docks of Newport Harbor. Fishing vessels and other ships come and go. It's always bustling here.
But today's an exciting day because a 300-ton square-rig brig called Seabird is expected to arrive home from Bristol, England.
Seabird is owned by Isaac Steele and is sailing under the command of Captain John Huxham. Huxham is well-seasoned, and his crew know their way around transatlantic voyages.
We know the Seabird should be here soon because a fishing vessel just pulled in a little while ago, and the crew said they saw Seabird just a few hours back, and even got close enough to give Captain Huxham a wave, who also waved back.
Gathered on the docks are some of Captain Huxham's friends who are eager to greet him and help unload his cargo from England.
Hey, that could be the Seabird now. Look out there.
It looks big enough. I see the square rigging. Yep, that's the Seabird.
It's getting close enough that some of the folks in the dock are starting to wave. Ahoy!
Ahoy! Wait. Well, that's kind of weird.
Well, what?
Well, the Seabird should be heading a little more westerly if it's going to pull into the docks.
Yeah, you're right. In the direction the ship is heading, it's going to miss us.
The people gathered on the docks are starting to wave frantically.
At this rate, the Seabird is not going to make these docks.
It doesn't seem to be slowing down or taking in any sail either. Wait, do you see anyone on the decks?
I don't. And you're right. She's sailing right for the beach to our east.
Oh, whoa, she just beached right into the sand.
A few of the smaller vessels are pulling out from the docks to see if they can help. The people gathered, they're already running toward the beach where the Seabird just landed.
I don't see anyone on the ship.
No, me neither. Hey, let's climb up onto the deck. This is so strange. There's a dog here.
Yeah, but I don't see any sign of anyone else. Let's head below deck. Look at this in the galley.
All right, this is really weird.
Breakfast is laid out on the table, but the food hasn't been touched.
And check out the stove, Ray.
Yeah, there's still a fire burning inside, and whoa, the coffee is boiling on the stove. All right, let's head over to the captain's quarters. Oh, I smell tobacco, like someone was just smoking in here.
Yeah, I smell it too. And look at the desk over there.
Oh, there's a few gold coins just sitting there.
Exactly.
Well, what do you think that means?
Well, look around. I mean, there's no sign of any trouble, no damage. If pirates boarded the ship, they would have at least taken the gold coins. Is that the captain's logbook over there?
Yeah, I think it is. Oh, it's still open. All right, the last entry was this morning. It says, Brenton Reef sighted. That's just a few miles outside of Newport. He must have wrote this about an hour or two ago.
All right, let's head back on the deck. I want to check something out. Okay, the skiff is still secured, right where it should be.
But the longboat is gone.
So why would the captain and crew load into the longboat just a few miles from shore?
The smaller vessels that just came over from the docks in Newport are now heading further out to see if they can spot the longboat or any survivors.
This is so strange. There's no sign of any damage, no struggle, no reason to abandon the ship, and nothing is stolen or out of place. I mean, the cargo, the food, and everyone's personal belongings are right where they should be. Right, and the ship's dog seems fine. Look, his tail's wagging. He looks well fed.
This is so weird. Local magistrates launch a full investigation, but as the days turn to weeks, no sign of the captain and crew are ever seen again. They seem to have vanished, and that brings us back to today. So one version of the story goes, after the Seabird beached, it was dragged out and destroyed by the next tide.
Okay.
But the more likely version is that the intact Seabird was sold to Henry Collins, who renamed her Beachbird and continued to sail her for many years. But the part about the captain and crew never being seen again, that never varies.
Okay, there's more. But the more on the story of the Seabird didn't come out for more than another century. And many people believe that it was probably pure fiction. The story made its way around the newspapers in the latter half of the 1800s. We found it in the May 4th, 1885 San Francisco Examiner newspaper. This article claims to have found a reason the ship arrived empty.
Now, this article reads like a movie script. It says in the year 1800, the ship Soldan out of New York ran aground in the Baltic Sea. It was taken to the Swedish port of Easted for repairs. While staying in town, the Soldan's captain, a man named Robson, found an old American man living in town, so he paid him a visit. For reasons we can only guess, the old man felt obligated to share a secret he'd been carrying for at least 50 years. The old man said his name was Thomas Hanway, and that when he was 19 years old, he sailed with Captain Huxham aboard the Seabird. Hanway claims that he was on the ship during that fateful voyage.
In his confession, Hanway said that Captain Huxham was a stern man from the beginning of their time together. But the first mate was at first an amiable kind of guy, and Hanway took a liking to him. But once they got to sea, the mate was far worse than the captain.
Hanway claimed the ship began its journey in New York and then sailed to Bristol, England with passengers. Hanway and his crewmate Hensdale were treated so cruelly that their intent was to jump ship in Bristol and find other work.
And jumping ship is against the law.
Yes.
Because a ship needs a certain number of sailors on board to be considered seaworthy. Maritime law doesn't take kindly to deserters. Now, when the captain caught wind of Hanway and Hensdale's plan, he arrested them and chained them to the masts until they sailed from Bristol and were back out at open sea. And after that, the torment of these two men only got worse. Hanway and Hensdale seethed at the first mate, threatening to beat him up or toss him overboard if given the chance. But then, according to the story, one dark, stormy night during rough seas, Hanway was at the helm when the mate called Hensdale to take in the foresheet. Now, Hensdale said he couldn't do it alone, so the mate went to help, and the next thing anyone knew, the mate was overboard and sucked below into the inky black water.
The crew cried murder. Hensdale and Hanway said it was an accident, but the captain locked the men up and said they would hang for murder when they reached Newport.
Hanway swears it was an accident that killed the mate, but it doesn't matter at this point. His captain doesn't believe him. And now the two men are consumed with saving their own lives at all costs. And that's when Hanway says the devil took over. Hanway and Hensdale slipped out of their shackles, creeped up on the deck, and began the execution of every man on board. So they solved one problem of getting arrested and hanging as soon as they reached Newport, but now they had another problem. They couldn't arrive in Newport, or really any other port for that matter, without a captain and crew. No one would believe them. So they got close to Newport, slipped into the longboat, and set the Seabird on a collision course with land.
Hanway claims that he and Hensdale waited for darkness, slipped ashore, and started new lives for themselves. Hanway made it to Sweden, where he lived to be an old man, right up until his confession to this visiting Captain Robson.
Now, Robson wrote down the confession and sat on it until his own deathbed, the article claims, which is why it only surfaced so long after the fact.
Most people think this story of Hanway and Hensdale is made up by writers a century after the fact because it's a plausible explanation as to why a ship would sail into a Newport beach under such mysterious circumstances.
Plausible, but impossible to prove.
Impossible to disprove, too.
Yeah, that's true. The reality is we're never going to know for certain what happened to the captain and crew of the Seabird. But we'll continue to tell the tale and wonder what or who sailed that ghost ship into Newport Harbor all those years ago.
That we will. And that brings us to After the Legend, where we take a deeper dive into this week's story and sometimes veer off course.
Just sometimes. After the Legend is brought to you by our Patreon patrons. Our Patreon patrons kick in just $3 per month and get early access to all the new episodes, plus bonus episodes and content that no one else gets to hear. It's only $3 per month, but when a lot of you join, it goes a long way with helping with our hosting and production costs, marketing, travel, and everything else it takes to bring you a new episode each week. Just head over to patreon.com/New England Legends to sign up. Ray. Do you think you could just disappear today?
On a ship on the ocean? Perhaps.
I mean, anywhere.
Oh, I don't think so. There's too many cameras everywhere. And there's cameras where we don't see cameras.
Right.
Satellites and people watching it. Everyone has a camera on their phone.
So we've sort of had this discussion before with a different episode, but just, you want to just leave your life, even if you don't have a family or whatever, could you just take up your stakes in one city, move to another, start calling yourself by a different name? I don't know if you could.
I think you could if you lived out in the mountains.
Right.
Maybe you know somebody that can doctor up some fake passports, but you can't even do that these days.
But then you've got a paper trail.
Right, exactly.
Right. So,
I guess you would just have to move to the mountains.
Right.
Or get a ship and live in the middle of the ocean.
Or be homeless.
Right.
Right, and then you're living off the street and living that kind of life. Which,
but you do have to cancel any kind of identity, really.
Right.
Not even make up a new one. Just your life you're a nomad.
Right, at
with
that
no
point.
name.
But there was a time, and not all that long ago, mid-1800s, 1700s, absolutely. You could be in a city, or a town, you could be wanted for a crime of some kind, anything, or you're just sick of it, and you just leave.
Well, we've done many episodes about people like that.
Yeah, and then you start a new life, and you say...
They kill again, and...
Call me Ray Auger now, right?
Right.
and
nobody asks, well, can I see some ID?
Right.
In the 1800s, I mean...
You didn't have any. It was
Yeah.
just your word.
Right.
So, yeah, it was a totally different time. So you wonder, this ship was so strange. The idea that it could arrive, like the coffee boiling. I mean, this is wow.
Well, if the coffee was boiling and everything was still warm, then whatever happened just happened.
Just happened. And so now the article we read, and by the way, that was the San Francisco, California Examiner newspaper, right? Like I want to point that out, that this article sort of like made it around, the story, and that was 1885, and the event occurred in 1750.
Okay.
That's a long, long time.
That is.
Right, for someone to say like, oh, I discovered these hidden papers that explains how, and let's face it, that is a plausible explanation.
Yeah.
That two guys were going to hang, and their only escape was to kill everybody on the ship.
Right.
Awful, but plausible. Why else would the captain and crew say, slip the longboat into the water? We're getting out of here. We're starting something new. I don't know. I have no idea. Like, did he go and become a pirate? And say, we'll just get rid of the ship here and do something else. You
would see it though. I mean, there were people on the beach waving. They must have seen it from far away.
Well, so the part about the fishing boat waving to the captain, that was in the Examiner article. So we're not certain it happened back then. But a ship called Seabird did beach without a crew in 1750, and a new ship called Beachbird, same description, went into service shortly thereafter, which makes sense. I mean, if the ship was 100% seaworthy, you would just repurpose it. You would,
and we learned that there was nothing wrong with the ship.
Nothing. Yeah, it's such a strange thing. So ghost ships are freaky to me. Like when we talked about the one in New Haven, it's a cloud floating by, but when the idea that you get to a boat, and again, when you're at sea, if you leave a sailing vessel, you're dead. Yeah. Unless there's land.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah. You're going under the boat.
Right.
You're drowning.
You're done.
Or shark's going to get you. You can't just jump ship.
No, you would only jump ship if like all hope is lost. And then how long?
We did the story about the circus boat that was on fire, and all the animals had to jump ship. Everyone had to jump ship, and not everybody made it.
Nope. Some swam, and they were near shore.
Yeah.
They were within sight of land. So some of them made it. Some of the animals made it. Many did not. And that's, that it's so scary. It's hard for us to understand, because today, if you ever like took a cruise ship, I mean, there'd be like a Coast Guard cutter. You'd tread water for like 15 minutes, and someone would be along to pick you up, right? But back then, no satellites, no phone, no radio. It was just, that ship is all you have.
But we do read stories about airplanes disappearing, crashing, but nobody knows where, because they veered off course a bit. Right. So because the ocean is so large.
Passenger planes, that wasn't that long ago, a few years ago, right? That Malaysian flight that just disappeared. Just disappeared.
And they made a show about it. I think it was called Lost.
Right. Yeah. Right. But that's so scary to me. That must be the eeriest thing ever. It's one thing if like pirates took the ship and took all the loot and then just left it, wow, that's horrible. But when to find nothing stolen and nothing missing.
You've come up on stories like this. I mean, you did a whole thing about the Bridgewater Triangle, which is, a smaller version of the Bermuda Triangle, right?
Yep.
And we know the story of the Bermuda Triangle, where ships are just deserted or disappear altogether or show up in another century.
Right.
And I find that fascinating. So that makes you wonder, aliens?
I don't know.
Maybe they were beamed up.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so strange. Or the only other thing you might think of is that, was there like a yellow fever outbreak or something on the ship, and one by one the passengers and crew were dying. The captain realized, I'm sick too. We can't make sure we'll get other people sick, and so
it just doesn't explain the food. And everything being intact.
Why would you cook breakfast, right? Right, yeah.
Right. Well, final breakfast, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, so maybe that, you're tossing the sick overboard in the ocean as they're dying, and then you say, like, I'm going to die too. I'm just going to get close, set sail, and just put some cannonballs in my pocket. But you think it'd leave a note.
Something, yeah.
Right?
To explain.
Like a responsible captain would be like, I'm saving the ship, I'm letting her drift into Newport Harbor.
Well, and that was probably his final thought as he was sinking to the bottom of the ocean. I should have left a note.
Son of a gun. Oh, it's still in my pocket. Oh, dang it. Now they're going to wonder.
Yeah.
No one will ever remember this. What's a podcast? I don't even know. But yeah, it's one of those freaky stories where you're just, wow. what must that have been like to find it? That would haunt you.
Absolutely.
Forever to find something like that. And I don't know if there's an equivalent today. It's just such a different time.
Yeah. People go missing all the time, though. Think
They
about
do.
that.
Yeah, they do. And usually we send dogs to sniff for them.
Yeah.
No,
Not everyone's found, though.
No, that's true. And the dog. So the other element, the story's told many different ways in different books and sources and things like that. But the dog is always there.
Yeah.
The dog is always,
The
present.
dog knows what happened.
The dog knows, and he's not telling anyone.
Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts because it's free. And when you tell others about us, when you post a review on Apple Podcasts, that all goes a long way in helping to bring more people into our army of legend hunters. If you've got your own strange local tale to share, please reach out and tell us on our website.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Newport Herbals. Thank you so much to our Patreon patrons. And our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember,
The bizarre is closer than you think.